honestly, I can't believe it's already almost here. We are very, very quickly approaching the end of the first quarter of 2024. And do you know what that means? No, not the new season of anime. Yes, that is also happening, but not relevant to this channel. For this channel, the Xorg Foundation is once again holding its election for the Xorg Board of Directors. And I say election in the loosest sense of the word, because once again, this email had to be sent out. 2024 Xorg Board of Directors election timeline extended. Request for nominations from Christopher Michael. We are seeking nominations for candidates for election to the Xorg Foundation Board of Directors. However, as we presently do not have enough nominations to start the election, the decision has been made to extend the timeline by 2 weeks. Note, this is a fairly regular part of the elections process. And it is so regular, in fact, that if you've been watching this channel for a while, this email might seem fairly familiar. And that's because it's a copy-paste email from the one sent out last year. Literally, the only thing that changed is some slightly different formatting, some slightly different dates, and some slightly different names. So last year the elections happened towards the start of April. This time it's around the middle of March. Also, the people who are actually in the election have changed as well. Previously, the directors who received 2-year terms starting in 2022 were Emma Anholt, Mark Fillion, Alyssa Rosenzweig, and Ricardo Garcia. They will continue to serve until their term ends in 2024. Current directors whose term expires in 2023 are Samuel Iglesias Gonçalves, Manassi D. Navarre, Lude Paul, and Daniel Vetter. Now saying, the directors who received 2-year terms starting in 2023 were... I'm gonna butcher that. Hiller, Christopher Michael, Lude Paul, and Daniel Vetter. They will continue to serve until their term ends in 2024. Current directors whose term expires in 2024 are Emma Anholt, Mark Fillion, Ricardo Garcia, and Alyssa Rosenzweig. And you might notice that a lot of those names seem very, very, very familiar. So by election time in 2023, there were 8 people running. Keep in mind, 8 people for 4 open seats, with 3 of the people whose terms expired running again, and 2 of them winning their seat back, that being Lude Paul and Daniel Vetter. This was a fairly successful election. But when he said not having enough nominees is a regular part of the election, this wasn't just a 2023 thing. The election has been in a really weird state for a very long time. For example, back in 2017, they had 4 open seats and 5 candidates, which is enough to hold an election, but not a great election. In 2014, they had 4 candidates for 4 seats. Literally no point doing an election. And then in 2012, they barely had enough people actually voting to make the election count. Those were the most notable situations, but basically every other year in between has been in a fairly similar state. They've been, okay, we have people that are qualified, we have people that can run it, but there's really not that many people, and there's barely enough people to just make the election. Now, it's not like the requirements for the position are that crazy anyway. This is probably the most annoying thing to do, because you're probably going to have to fly somewhere. So if, say, I was on the board of directors, that would be a lot of money, basically no matter where it is, because it's probably going to be somewhere in the US or Europe. So minimum $2,000 if I was to do it. But if it is in Europe, and there are a lot of people who go to things like FOSDEM and other events like that who do fly to these events, who are in a far more suitable position to actually do so, a member may nominate themselves or any other member they feel is qualified. Nominations should be sent to the election committee at this place right here. Nominees shall be required to be current members of the Xorg Foundation. That limits it down to like 200 different people. There are not that many members of the foundation. and submit a personal statement of up to 200 words that will be provided to prospective voters. The collected statements, along with the statement of contribution to the Exorg Foundation in the members account page on this link right here, will be made available to all voters to help them make their voting decisions. Nominations and completed personal statements must be received no later than 23:59 UTC on the 11th of March 2024. The slate of candidates will be published on 18th of March 2024, and candidate Q&A will begin then. The deadline for Exorg membership applications and renewals has been extended 2 weeks and is now 25 March 2024. Whilst we have a lot of developers in this Linux and desktop ecosystem, it takes a very different kind of mindset to want to be in this more management director position like this. Also, it is a very different kind of position than managing something like a desktop environment, for example, because if you're dealing with a desktop environment, there are these fundamental truths that everybody in the project agree with. For example, on KDE, no one is going to argue that something besides Qt should be used, or on GNOME, something besides GTK should be used. But when you're dealing with something like the Exorg Foundation, you're more dealing with this sort of meta project where you have all of these different voices, all of these different people that have all of these different goals, and you somehow have to bring these into something that actually fits together, which is not fun, and something that I can understand that nobody really wants to do. With everything I've said about the Exorg Foundation, X11, and basically how Wayland is going to be the future, whether you like it or not, you might be wondering why I care about the Exorg Foundation elections and why I want them to be healthy. I think a lot of people don't realize this, but Exorg and Wayland are not competitors, and the name Exorg Foundation is basically a misnomer, and I think kind of misleading in a way that hurts their cause, because whilst the Exorg Foundation was created as a foundation for Exorg after the whole debacle with X386 back in 2003-2004 when the project actually started, that's not the case anymore. It's not just about Exorg. Here is from the About page of the Exorg Foundation. Exorg Foundation's, or Exorg for short, purpose is to research, develop, support, organize, administrate, standardize, promote, and defend a free and open accelerated graphics stack and the developers and users thereof. The stack includes, but is not limited to, the following projects: DRM, Mesa, Wayland, and the X Window System. DRM does not mean digital rights management, it means direct rendering manager. I really doubt it's ever actually gonna happen, but I feel like doing a rebrand to something like the Open Graphics Foundation would be a much better representation of what is actually under the banner of the Exorg Foundation today, because you hear Exorg Foundation and you see the logo and you're like, oh, it's about Exorg, why would I want to get involved with that? Even if you didn't know about the connection already, you may have already noticed it from where the email was actually posted. So, 2023, it was on Exorg Devel. Now they don't even post it on Exorg Devel because I don't think anybody is actually reading it. So far this month, there has been 3 emails. Now it's posted over on Wayland Devel, which is considerably more active. Now, I can't yet speak for 2024 because the timeline has been extended, so the full list of nominations is not available, but going by 2023, it's not like they don't have qualified people who want to be on the board. It's just they don't have that many people, full stop. So if we go down to the section on their statements, you'll see exactly what I mean. First, we have Thomas Adam. So, whilst he doesn't have a current affiliation, he did start the X11 Conservancy project, which aims to bring life and maintain older X11 applications from the mid to late 90s and onward. And he wants to see Exorg stick around and become more active. Despite the apparent interest with Wayland, I still firmly believe that Exorg is still relevant and deserves a future. So anything I can do to help maintain it can only be a good thing. The next person whose name I cannot pronounce is from Codeweavers. They've been a driving force behind Linux gaming. They hosted a virtual XDC in 2020. They've worked on Wine and Proton. They've worked on the i9-15 driver. Next, we have Christopher Michael from Igalia, a software engineer with 25 years of experience, has been involved in the X11 space for a super long time. Next is Manasi Naver, a Google engineer, worked on i9-15, DRM, GNOME, Chrome OS, has been doing a lot of things for a very long time. Lude Paul from Red Hat, a software engineer there, worked on a bunch of drivers, restarted Xorg's relationship with VESA. Like, all of these people here are very, very, very qualified people who, in a very healthy election that has a lot of candidates, all of these people make sense to vote for, but these are basically the only candidates that are available. But there is one person in particular I do want to highlight, that being the final person on the list, William Weeks Balcony. Whilst everybody else is an Xorg developer, a Wayland developer, a Mesa developer, William here is just a dude. Yes, he does work at Microsoft, but I am an avid user of Xorg. My kids use Trisquel Sugar on a stick. So after each reboot, I need to use the xrandom command to configure the display. I am a user that will strive to maintain Xorg. I'm an average user of the X window system. I enjoy Linux, Emacs, and Clojure. This month's distribution choice is Trisquel KDE. I was watching an interview with RDS and he mentioned that he uses it. This is just a dude. It's a dude that runs Trisquel for, I don't know why, at all, but this is just a dude that runs Linux. And you might think, oh, he got absolutely no votes. Well, he did come in last place, but people did vote for him. And the real point I'm making here is if you are an Xorg Foundation member or you want to become one for the next election and you want to have a chance at actually being on the board of directors, you actually can. There are so few people involved in this that you, as a regular person who wants to get your voice out there and your voice heard in this project, legitimately can actually go and do so. You don't have to be a Mesa developer with 20 years of experience. If you're someone who has a deep love for Linux, a deep love for Xorg, a deep love for Wayland, a deep love for Mesa, and you want to get involved, you can do so. If you have even an inkling of a thought that maybe you want to do this, don't hold yourself back. Go and get involved and actually make a change. Especially if you're someone who really supports Xorg. If you actually support Xorg and you want Xorg to continue long into the future, you can go onto the board of directors and you can make your case heard. That is something that you can legitimately do. But we'll see how the election goes. And I have absolutely no doubt that in 2025, the exact same email is going to be posted. But maybe it'll be posted because there's slightly less of a problem. We'll have to wait and see. So, are you interested in the Xorg Foundation? Are you going to try your luck? Let me know down below. If you liked the video, go like the video. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, Scribes, LiberaPay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and a lot of people have no idea about the difference between Xorg Foundation and Free Desktop. I feel like I've done a video on that before, though.
Something like this.